All right. We are back for part two of
Yay.
the Week 7 show's game by game preview. Hello there again, guests.
Hey.
Remember, always like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, go on TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Look for those hashtags, answers by guests at ABGFF. As you all know, we are Fantasy Football's inside scoop from outside the box. Remember those bye weeks: Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Ready to jump into the first game there, sir?
Yeah, I hope people watch these in order. Otherwise, they'll be like, what the hell's wrong with guests?
All right, New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Giants coming off of a good win, like we were talked about on the previous one when we mentioned the Ravens. Again, a second half game. Daniel Jones didn't look half bad, man. Wandale,
Wandale,
well,
Wandala.
yeah. Seems to be the number one over there. Bellinger again with the touchdown. Seems to be trending in the right direction. And Barkley, are you comfortable starting a Daniel Jones if somebody has a quarterback that's out in this bye week against this Jacksonville defense that's been pretty decent? Last week they gave up a lot of points, but it was going against, I don't know, that was such a weird game to me, to be honest with you. Trevor Lawrence seemed to be the running back. He was scoring all the touchdowns, took it away from ETN, took it away from James Robinson, even a little Jermichael Hasty we saw. That run game, is it now kind of time to start staying away? ETN kind of trending up, and then Christian Kirk seems to be the one that is the touchdown getter, but can there be somebody else that we could start from this Jacksonville team?
Well, as far as the Giants, we'll start there. Mr. Wandala. He played 10 snaps last week and had that production. Obviously, they were easing him in. Some scrub off the practice squad was the leading guy last week. And, people are, I hear a lot of, and I read a lot of naysayers on Mr. Robinson so far. And it's, they're like, oh, he's a good training camp story, blah, blah, blah. He's the best that they got. And he's playing Sterling Sharp's position. And he played 10 snaps last week, and look how productive he was. It was like every time he was on there, he was relatively involved. I mean, what do you have? 2, 3 catches, at least 3 targets or something. Excuse me. So he by the numbers is not their number one, but he will be, and you got to get him in your lineup this week. I think Jacksonville defense is tough, but they're going to use them. Obviously, and I'd imagine he gets at least 50% of the snaps this week, so we're talking at least like 30 or so. And Saquon, of course. Bellinger, you got to use if you're in a tight end pinch. I mean, there's a couple tight ends on buys. Bellinger seems to score one way or another each week for the past few. He's not getting a ton of targets, but he's coming through when he's on the field, and he's a pretty good pass catcher. So he's definitely worth a look. Other than that, I don't want to touch any of the guys on the Giants. I don't know how they're getting it done. Myself, I'm rolling with Daniel Jones this week as my bye week replacement. I don't love it, but that's where I'm at right now. Because no matter who the scrub is he's throwing to them, and he's using his legs. Not so much last week, but more so the weeks before. And I'm counting on a little bit of rushing production. You go all the way back to his rookie year. Remember, he was running so fast he fell down. He's got legs. Man.
He does.
He's got legs. So I'm banking on that. Jacksonville defense is pretty good. Maybe they push him out of the pocket a few times and he's got to take off and get a few rushes, get a few rushing first downs, and he should come through in our leagues for me. Hopefully. We'll see. As far as Jacksonville goes, yeah, Hasty stealing a touchdown. Lawrence, I think, stole 2 from Robinson last week. I feel like if they gave Robinson the ball, both of those plays, Robinson would have punched it in. And there'd be a whole different story about James Robinson this week. I like James Robinson to bounce back. And I think ETN, if it's not this game, it's one of the next couple. He's going to have 120 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns pretty soon. So you can mark this down. Video 2, week 7, answers by guess. I said that if it's not this week, it'll be next week or the week after or something. ETN's going to have a game where he has 120 yards plus a bunch of receptions and 2 touchdowns, and it's just a blow-up game because he's just right there. And as Rob said, it could have been last week, but Hasty and Lawrence decided to play Vulture, and nothing you can do about that. It's Kirk, and then this week you got a little bit of secret sauce that isn't so much of a secret. Evan Ingram, revenge game.
Revenge.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
I would not doubt if he scored a touchdown this week. They'll probably look to him as soon as they get close enough. Obviously, he'll get some targets in between the 20s, but once they get down in the red zone, I'd imagine he gets at least a couple targets until he gets 1 touchdown. They're going to want to give him that revenge, or at least give him a shot at that. So if you need a chance at tight end, I think Evan Ingram this week is a great play because they're going to give him an opportunity to score a touchdown against his old team, who let him go without much care in the world. And that's about it. Like, I don't want anything to do with Zay Jones. I see a lot of people putting him in. I don't want anything to do with that. Agnew, I'm not even sure if he's healthy or not at this point, but he's just too risque. Marvin Jones, does he even still play? So it's Kirk, it's the running backs, and Evan Ingram if you need a tight end. Oh, and somebody posted, I don't know who it was, but I thought it was pretty good. But we had my friend, your acquaintance, Mr. Herm, Steve Melfi, reply to my comment. The thing was, it showed a picture of James Robinson, a picture of ETN, and said, give this running back tandem a nickname. And I wrote Charles in just the N, charge. Charles in charge. And he wrote, I don't get it. So I explained it to him. I said, well, ETN reminds me of Jamal Charles, but not peak Jamal Charles. Before Jamal Charles blew up, where you saw glimpses of, wow, he could be special.
He could be really good, yeah.
And charge, because James Robinson will charge right at you and knock you over and plow his way into wherever he's got to go. He breaks tackles like no other. We see it all the time. I text you after every single time, like he's so damn good. So I said, Charles in charge. And just like the old amazing TV show, Charles in Charge, it was a nice play on words. I thought it was a good nickname. So if we're going to talk about that from now on, and maybe this is an answer to a trivia question. So if you're watching this, maybe we give away a T-shirt at some point, a few weeks down the road. I say, hey, what was the nickname I gave to J. Rob and ETN? And we'll see if anybody knows. Maybe not, but maybe we will.
I'm writing that down. Maybe I can win a T-shirt. I like it. All right, let's go on to the next game here. Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. Mr. Stuck in the Mud really wasn't that stuck in the mud last week. Again, against the Jacksonville team. I'm talking about Matt Ryan. He was going to Pittman a lot. I think Pittman actually could have had a bigger game. He had a couple drops as well. Obviously, you're starting Pittman. The thing that I'm worried about is now you have Jonathan Taylor coming back. You have Hines coming back. Deion Jackson did not look bad last week. Now is it a 3-headed monster in Indianapolis with maybe giving Jonathan Taylor a little bit of time to kind of come back and recover? He hasn't had the greatest season. Let's talk about that situation. Tennessee coming back off their bye. They won against the Commanders the week before. I think Treylon Burks is back. How does that change things? Is he back this week? Or
No, he's not back yet. He's not back yet. It's going to be a couple more.
Okay. Well, anyways, obviously you're starting Henry. Who else can we start from this Tennessee Titans team?
I mean, just double check on that, but I'm almost positive. I want to say it's week 9 or 10 that he's coming back, actually.
Is it that far down the road? Oh, well, we're up to week 7 already. I'm thinking like week 9 or 10 is like 5-6 weeks away from now.
Yeah. I think so. Double check. But as far as 10, yeah, as far as the Colts running backs, I think if anything, Deion Jackson just eats into Naheem Hines snaps.
Okay.
Um, I think what you saw last week with Deion Jackson. Now, 2 weeks ago, we saw it. Like when they tried to roll with who's the other dude that they had? I can't remember. Somebody else. They tried to roll with him, and he wasn't very good. They put Deion Jackson in. It
Philip
was
Lindsay.
was it? Yeah, it was the Thursday game, and they put Deion Jackson in the fourth quarter and overtime. He was amazing. So then they said, "Oh, okay, well, maybe we got some." And then that's what they went with last week. He actually got me a win and fantasized me last week. Picked him up, threw him in my starting lineup. I ended up winning by 5 points, even though I outscored everybody in the league except for the guy I was playing by a landslide. But anyways, Deion Jackson was the reason I won, so I owe him all the praises and graces. Um, but I think that they preserve him in case something happens to Taylor again, because like, hey, we got somebody who can come in if Taylor's out again. He's not gonna get 20%, none of that. He'll get 10 if Hines was gonna get 20. You know what I mean? I think he eats into Hines because he can catch the ball. He had like 10 catches last week, something like that, something ridiculous. Um, or if it wasn't last week, the week before, he had a bunch of catches. And he looks really good. And I think that he eats into Hines. Hines is really skinny, really small, fragile, um, agile, and he's got a role on this team. So I think Dion will eat into that. Dion was a little banged up leaving the game last week. I think what they learned last week is, hey, our running game is working because it wasn't working early in the season. That's why Jonathan Taylor was having such a hard time. I think Jonathan Taylor will be more than just fine. Now it's tougher to run on Tennessee than it is to throw on them. So you obviously are firing up Pittman. We won't talk about him, and you probably should be firing up Pierce. Um, one of the three tight ends will score a touchdown or two because that's how it goes. Probably not going to. It's probably going to be Kylan Granson. If I'm going to throw a dart at a tight end for them this week, I'm going to go with Kylan Granson. Why? Because it was Mo Alley, and then it was Jelani Woods,
Mm-hmm.
and Kylan needs to get fed as well. So I would throw a dart at him. We'll see. He probably scores a touchdown. You can write that down in pencil. You don't need to write it down in ink. But I
Big
wouldn't
bench, brother.
I wouldn't play him unless you're in like a 16-team league or something with really deep rosters and you play two tight ends, which would be crazy. But so yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor would be more than fine. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a huge game. I think they're going to lean on the run. Robert Woods before their bye was heating up. I'd expect that to continue. Um, we'll see if the rookie Kyle Phillips, the PPR monster that never was, comes back and shows us something. And then my boy, don't forget my boy, getting chiggy with it.
Ah, na 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 na.
Remember Chig Okonkwo? He was my guesstimator. And I told you, it was week 5. I said, he's my guesstimator. I said, but they got to buy next week. They work him in to become the starter because Cooper sucks. And who's the other one they got? Lane Swain. And said, they're going to work this guy in and we're going to get chiggy with it. So, like, just let's see this because this could be the one where we see Sir Chigalot become what I hoped and thought that I saw and he could be. So let's keep our eyes out. And please, 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 anybody that's got Derrick Henry, I do not own him at all, but please do not let him get vultured by Mr. Hilliard. Please don't let that happen.
I like it. I like the getting jiggy with it. It's so great. I hope it happens.
Let's see.
All right, next one here.
And let's talk about this real quick.
Sure.
Because you and I were talking about this. And I said it hasn't happened by choice, it's happened by chance. But the guesstimator has sort of become not so much of a guy you want to use this week, but a guy you want to know about grab this week. because next week or the week after, he's going to be somebody you want. I mean, look at Keontae Ingram. He didn't do much last week, but he did pretty good for you last night, 2 nights ago, last night. So, and that's what it's becoming. A guy that you want to grab just in case, before somebody else does.
All right. Going on to the next one here. Your Green Bay Packers at the Washington Commanders. We'll start with the Green Bay Packers. I'm happy. Jets looked okay. Their defense and their run game played really well against them. I'm kind of confused on the Dylan Jones situation, to be honest with you. I don't know what's happening there. Dylan had 70-something yards, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a horrible game for him, but
Right.
I just think their offense is just so stagnant right now.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I mean, Cobb's out, but they might be getting Sammy Watkins back this week. Christian Watson's out, but I don't know what the hell to think about this team. Is Bobby Tunyon really kind of the only one that you're comfortable starting on this Green Bay team? On the flip side, Wentz out now. Brian Robinson got his love that he was looking for just because of the touchdown, though. Did see the ball a lot. Can we see him actually playing a major role? And what happens to Gibson? And with the quarterback change, does that mean that Scary Terry actually gets some love now?
Yeah, as far as Bobby T is concerned, yeah, he had the 10 catches or whatever last week. But listen, the Jets defense funnels the ball to the tight end. Like they're so good on the outside, and they say throw it to the tight end. We're going to take care of the receivers. We're going to stop the run as best we can. The tight end is left open. You look at all their games, the tight end production against them. That's who Rodgers had to throw to because his receivers, after the first half or halfway through the first half, after that Allen Lazard amazing touchdown, all he could really throw to was to the tight end because everybody else, the coverage was amazing. The play calling is terrible in Green Bay. I don't know what's going on with the head coach there. I don't know what's going on with Rodgers. Let's see if this lights a fire under him. I hear some people saying he's going to come out pissed off. I mean, he should have came out pissed off 3 weeks ago. I mean, he didn't even really come out pissed off week 2 after they lost week 1 again. They handled the game week 2, but he wasn't really pissed off. They sort of just went through the motions, and that's like that's my life. Like the teams that I root for, they have no killer instinct ever. They play down, and then I'm not saying the Jets aren't good because I've been saying for years, Rob, you know this, that I think the Jets are a lot better than people give them credit for, and I think they're very good. They're a very exciting, young, talented team. But Green Bay, I don't think viewed them as that. And there was reports that after the London game, because they chose not to have a bye, they got to pick who they wanted to play. They chose to play the Jets.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I think that then the same with the Giants game. They were up 20-10 at the half. They said, "Oh, we got this. We got this. Let's just hang out, man." And the Giants punched him in the face and kept coming. And the Jets did it to them. They play down to the competition. The Dodgers do it. They got no heart. They go to the playoffs every year, and they get as far as they can. They lose because they got no heart. Syracuse basketball team, no killer instinct. They play down to their competition. You put us against one of the best teams or one of the best teams in the league, they'll play their ass off and beat them a lot of times. But you put us against somebody who they're supposed to beat, Green Bay in this case, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So this game worries me because of that. So, I mean, I'm fine with playing Dubs. I'm obviously fine with playing Lazard. Do you realize how good Lazard is doing this year for fantasy? Does anybody actually realize? I said once he came back, I said or after week 1, when they weren't using him and he came back, well, he was hurt or whatever. I said, he's going to be a monster. Those were my exact words on the Tuesday show or whatever. He's going to be a monster. And he's killing it. He's might be top 5, somewhere in there. At least the weeks he's played over the past 4 weeks or whatever. Maybe not top 5, but he's definitely wide receiver 1, top 12. I'm going to guess that much. If he hasn't gone to 100 yards, he scored a touchdown. He hasn't done both in a game yet. But every week he's given you solid fantasy production. So you have to play him, especially against the Commanders. What are you going to say?
He's averaging 8 targets per game for the last 4 games, and you're right. Every time he scores a touchdown, it's not 100 yards, but the one he didn't score a touchdown, he had 116 yards. So
right. So you got to keep throwing Lazard out. He's doing so well. He's filling into a wide receiver 1 role for this team fine. I don't know what the issue is. It's play calling for me. Like you said, the running back, something's got to give. Something's got to give. This game worries me, and it worries me mostly because this game has the week 7 guesstimator.
And who may that be?
Green Bay struggles with 2 particular prototypes. I say this all the time. It's the speedy, shifty back, check, and it's the mobile quarterback. You say, oh, Carson Wentz is not mobile. Well, Carson Wentz is not the quarterback this week. Mr. Taylor Heineke is the week 7 guesstimator. First time ever I've given you a guesstimator as a quarterback. And I'm doing it for the most part because 2 very major quarterbacks are on bye this week. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, the best 2 quarterbacks in the league to this point. Yes, Jalen Hurts is 2. Mahomes is 3. Sorry. So this is somebody you could pick up, and guess what? He's going to be their quarterback for a few weeks, at least. And last year, he was really good for them. He was very good for Terry McLaurin. And now they have more than just Terry McLaurin. They have maybe Jahan Dotson playing in this one. They have Curtis Samuel, who we all know about. You know who Taylor Heineke is really good for? A guy that I don't like, so I can't recommend him. But I'm going to say his name because Taylor Heineke's really good for him. J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick blew up last year. When? Why? Because Taylor Heineke was the quarterback, and he knows how to throw to a running back. Carson Wentz does not. Taylor Heineke, J.D. McKissick will probably have a great game. And guess what? Taylor Heineke played against Green Bay last year. Absolutely murdered him. You want to know how many rushing yards he had? I'm almost positive it was over 90. I want to say it was 93 rushing yards against Green Bay. He's slick. He can get out of the pocket. He's probably going to have to do that a bunch because the cornerbacks for Green Bay are good. So you're going to get a ton of rushing yards from Heineke. He's got a ton of weapons to throw to. He's got Gibson if he needs to. We can't forget against B-Rob. His 3rd game coming back now from the tragedy almost. So Taylor Heineke is set up with an arsenal like he never had last year. And last year, he was super serviceable. So if you're looking for a quarterback, I know that I just led into this saying the guesstimator has sort of become more by chance, not by choice, a look ahead player to scoop. I think this week at home, the fans are going to be crazy because Carson Wentz has been Carson Wentz. And that makes them go, Taylor Heineke, they enjoy watching this man play. He's better for the receivers. He's better for the running back. He's better for fantasy. He will get you rushing yards. It would not shock me if he goes over 50 rushing yards.
I like it.
I can't see how he doesn't because Green Bay can't stop a mobile quarterback. They've never been able to. Never, ever. All the way back, you date back to Michael Vick when he killed him in the playoffs in the snow at Lambeau Field. Green Bay was supposed to beat them. I think they were 10-point favorites, and he just ran all over them. They never could. They couldn't even stop Culpepper. They couldn't stop Kaepernick. They can't. And he's going to be trouble for them. So all those guys I just mentioned, put them in your lineup. The only one I worry about just a little is Dotson because he might not play. So we'll see. And Gibson because I think that could have been a lot of smoke where he's like, Rivera, oh, we got to look for ways to get Gibson the ball more. I feel like he's like saying, hey, Gibson's really good. You should offer us a trade. So we'll see.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Again, we talked about the Jets having a good game, but it was a defensive game and it was a run game. Obviously, in the news for the wrong reasons. Instead of talking about a three-way game win streak, we're talking about Elijah Moore asking for a trade. He is not active this week. It seems like they activated Mims. How does that change the dynamic, or is this just going to be – it's hard to run against Denver, so they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to rely more on Zach Wilson. On the flip side, Russell Wilson banged up. Seems like he is going to play. Sutton really wasn't a thing last week in their overtime loss. Dolcic, I think, is somebody to be able to pay attention to from a tight end perspective. Could he be a good start? And then who else are we doing? Gordon benched.
Yeah, really weird. But anyways, the Jets. I had mentioned on the Tuesday show, don't drop these Jets wide receivers. They're going to need them sooner or later. What do? I drop a Jets wide receiver.
I saw that.
But I had to. He's got no spot on my team. It's Mr. Garrett Wilson. And listen, Garrett Wilson this week's going to be going, you better pick up the controller because he's playing PS3. Patrick Surtain III. He's been shutting down people all season long. He's staking his claim in his second season of being the best cornerback in the league. He's pretty ridiculous. And he's going to be covering Garrett Wilson because Patrick Surtain is not going to guard Corey Davis. And he's like, no, you guys can get the old dude. He's not even that old, but it's funny, sidetrack real quick and we'll get back to the game. I was thinking about this the other day. Here we are, two old guys, sitting here, we're making fun of old people, sit down, old man, yada, yada, yada. And then I look, and like, these guys are 8 years younger than me. Like, who the hell am I to call you an old man? You're 32. I'm like, what?
Sports perspective, everybody wants to hit that 30 mark, man.
Sure, they're old in football years, but it's crazy because like you watch sports as a kid, and these guys seem so old, even when they're young, and then you get older, but I still look at them as so much older than me, even when they're young, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're on TV. I don't understand. It's a weird paradigm, if that's the right word. But anyways, back to the game. The Jets are going to have to use Breece Hall. Said we wouldn't talk about it anymore. You put him in your lineup. I don't know. I know, Rob. I just got a feeling Russell Wilson is the big thing here. He hasn't looked good, but he's hurt. Or is he? I feel like every year it's like, oh, he sucked because his toe. Oh, he sucked because his tooth. He's like, what? Come on. Stop making excuses. He's blind. He's blind. How many games are we going to watch him looking this way when a guy's in front of him going like this? How many? It's 3 times in 6 games. Who even knows how many other times that weren't caught on camera? It's ridiculous. But what I was getting to, sorry. I think Denver could win this one. I'm
a little nervous too, man.
I think it's going to be tough for the Jets to go into Mile High, the Broncos, listen, as bad as their offense has been, their defense has been amazing. Like, they're 2-4, right? Is that correct? And I think their 4 losses are by 1 point, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points.
That sounds right.
Like 7 points between 4 losses. Like, are you kidding? And they're all really low-scoring games. 3 points, like 16, 19, 16, 16, 13, 12, 9. Like, their defense is ridiculous. And Zach Wilson, I'm a huge fan. You all know this. I thought he would be the best quarterback out of last year's group. He's had injuries each year. He's still shaking the rust off. He's still getting up to speed, and the Jets are doing an amazing job at getting him comfortable at this level by using the run game and the short passing game to the running backs. That's A plus coaching. A plus. But I think in this one, I think that they're going to force him into a few mistakes because he's going to have to throw the ball because they're going to be able to shut down the run. Now it'll be tough. Brees Hall's amazing, um, but I think he's going to have to try and throw the ball. And I don't think Garrett Wilson's going to be able to beat Surtain. We'll see. I could be wrong. Um, so then you're gonna have to hope Denzel Mims does what we thought he could do for 3 years now, and he should, because this is his first time being active in damn near 2 seasons. He needs to go out there and make every play his last, type of thing. And maybe that's what they're hoping, because then they can trade him, because they'll trade him before they trade Elijah Moore.
Correct.
If Denzel Mims goes out and has a great game, now I trade him. So
Hey, he'll end up on the Giants, dude.
yeah, probably. He doesn't even have to move,
Yeah.
right? But like that, but you're not playing him. And then, anyways, I had talked about in the game before this when you had mentioned Robert Tunyon. The Jets funnel everything to the tight end, and that's where Dulcich is going to come in. Didn't play a ton of snaps, had 3 targets. 2 of them were great catches. One was the touchdown. The other one was a deflected ball in the red zone that would have been his second touchdown of 3 targets. So he's using the tight end. Dulcich is so good. He was the top tight end coming out of college last year. He was the #1 rated. He wasn't the highest drafted, I don't think. I think that was McBride, if I'm not mistaken, for Arizona. I could be wrong. But Dulcich was the top one. And he's so good that everybody's favorite, who I did not like, Albert O, is now on the trade block. Inactive his first active game, and now they just want to trade him because Dulcich is that good. He's the real deal. I think that he's going to help Russell Wilson if Russell Wilson can see him. I'd be okay if you had to use Judy. You got to use Sutton. And as far as the running backs go, Gordon's going to get the start, but that just means he's going to be the first running back on the field. Like, these morons. Do we not is there anybody that listens to this? Like, these writers, like, oh, well, they said, the coach said he's going to be the starter. Yeah, you can start, and then the second play, you're out of the game the rest of the game. Being the starter is not the lead back. They didn't say he's the lead back. They didn't say he's the man. They didn't say he's that dude. They said he's going to be the starter. What does that mean? It means nothing. But I will say one thing. If Melvin Gordon wants his job, like if he really, really wants his job, he's going to play harder in this game than he's ever played his entire life. Because this could be it. This could be it.
And I think the same kind of concept that you were mentioning as far as showing off players, this might be, okay, he's starting the game for us. Let's show him what you can do against a New York Jets defense that is okay against the run here and there. They tend to have more plays that are good against the run, but this could be a time to kind of showcase him to get rid of him so that you don't have to worry about that. You already know what your future looks like with Javonta, but Murray and Boone could be usable during the year.
You're right. I would not start Latavius Murray. I would not. Listen, he looked good his last 2 games. He looked good for the Saints in the London game, and then he looked good for the Broncos. I would not start him. I would not, because I think they're going to try and showcase Gordon, and they're going to mix in Boone. I think Murray's going to be a third one off the bench, because if they are looking to move Gordon, like you said, they want to keep Murray healthy.
Makes sense. All right, let's go on to the last one for this video. Houston Texans and the Las Vegas Raiders, both of them coming off a bye. Pierce is being still talked up by Lovie Smith, saying this kid has to get at least 20 carries a game as our lead. There's the word, as our lead running back.
Yeah.
He's a must start against the Raiders defense, who is okay. Again, they're kind of a on and off type of defense. It seems like their defense is being picked up everywhere. But I kind of have a feeling the Texans actually could be in this game and play well. What other Texans are we starting? On the flip side, Waller's out. Renfro is banged up, so obviously we know he force feeds Adam. I think Hollins is even banged up. Is it just then Adams, Jacobs, and could you start Carr? I guess technically.
Yeah, I was looking at some Vegas lines for props because I've been doing pretty good on props, knock on wood. Um, and Jacobs is 81.5 rushing yards. I can't tell you the last time I seen an over under for a running back that high. Usually it's like 60 for even the top guys. 75 is pushing it. 81.5. He's been killing it. And this is another great matchup to run in Texas. Their defense has been surprisingly good. They're not as much of a pushover as we thought, much like the Falcons. Um, Lovie Smith has the defense playing well. What can we say? Should not be a surprise, right? But you got to play Jacobs, obviously. Playing Adams, obviously. I don't want to touch Foster Moreau, but you could because he's usually a pretty good fill-in for Waller. He's done it before in the past. So if you're dire need, Foster Moreau, why not? Um, Hunter Renfro's got to play, though. I don't want to touch Mac Hollins. I do think that somehow this game is very high scoring, though. Mostly because I think the Raiders will be able to move the ball at home, and I think their defense is suspect. So Davis Mills is going to have a nice bounce back after the bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. Raiders have also had 2 weeks to prepare for them. But Pierce, I think Cooks is due for a bounce back. You and I were talking last night. I was like, should I play Brandon Cooks or should I play Rondale Moore? And both of us sort of said, we think Cooks, is a little bit safer. He's due for a little bit more. And I felt good about that. I was a little pissed on the first play with Rondale. And then when he dropped the touchdown, I texted Rob. I said, I would have been so pissed. I was so glad he dropped it. But so I do think Cooks and Nico Collins is finally rising up. He was a little banged up on Thursday, I saw a blurb about, but he should be fine. And guess who they got coming back? Brevin Jordan.
Your boy.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Brevin Jordan. We've been waiting all year for you. Oh, but then all of a sudden they say he was questionable today. 2 full practices this week, and all of a sudden they say questionable. What? What are you talking about? Not questionable. He's going to play. Brevin Jordan. He was my super sleeper, tight end, preseason. We haven't really got to see him. He got hurt the first week. And the first week then was the O.J. Howard. How's that turning out for you, O.J. Howard? Brevin Jordan. Let's see if he does something. I think he will. And I think this game's going to be a little higher scoring than most people think. The Vegas line's probably high on this, actually. Can you look it up? I'm going to say if Vegas is smart, which they are, this should be higher than 45. I'm going to say 47.5.
45.5.
Okay. Yeah. I think I would take the over. I think you're going to see a lot of people taking the under because they see Houston Texans and they see no Darren Waller. I think it's going to go over. I think this game has like 30-28 written all over it.
The funny part about it, Brevin Jordan's going to be in my DFS lineup this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he'll be cheap. He'll be
he's
super cheap.
Like $2,000.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is get 2 catches for like 28 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
And boom, 10 points. You're good.
I'll take it. I will take it. All right. Remember, guys, like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags. We'll be back shortly for video number 3.
We'll make video 3 shorter. I'm sorry. I went on so many rants.